I've got some questions here. I've got some questions of my own, but I'm thinking we just keep this pretty free form and, kind of, we've got a lot of things that we can talk about here. So I'm thinking let's just, talk about what we're interested in and kind of let the conversation flow. So feel free to kind of butt in whenever you're interested. And I'm not necessarily going to direct any questions specifically. But yeah, let's start by just kind of like, can each of you give an introduction and explain what it is that you're working on in the ordinal space? Do you want to start here?
Yeah, sure thing. My name is Sonic, and Sonic Zhang. I joined blockchain since 2017, and I've been investing into like ICOs, ISTOs. I have two funds, ValueNet Capital and Ledger Z Capital. I saw Ordinals happening this year, and I just had to jump in and start building my own products. So, and also I introduced the ORC-Cash system, the protocol, which is a simplified version of ORC-20, and I will give you reasons why I did that later.
Hey everyone, this is Charlie, one of the founding members of Ordinals Council. I've been in the Web3 space since more or less for 7 years. Originally brought Polkadot to China, ecosystem builder for Polkadot, and head of China for Tezos, and head of APAC for Polygon in 2021. Always being kind of like the East guy until this year, beginning of this year, I saw the great invention of Ordinals, kind of what people said, back to the mother chain, Bitcoin, right? So we started inscribing a lot of interesting early inscriptions, and we decided to let's build a ecosystem accelerator as a point of reference called the Ordinals Council. So yeah, we built as a DAO. That was not necessarily like company per se. There was no CEO. We have 36 members right now. We minted our token CNCL with zero VC. Zero kind of marketing expenses. We've been growing organically, and we've been building a lot of things along the ways, and seeing a great movement of Ordinals in the last couple of months.
Yeah, hi guys, this is Ocean from OKX, and I'm in charge of OKX Web3 DeFi. OKX Web3 DeFi is a powerful on-chain your farming aggregator, which integrates most of the leading DeFi protocols. I think if you guys hold your assets in your wallet and don't know where to invest or grow your assets, I think the OKX wallet is your best choice to use. And by the way, I think OKX wallet is the best wallet for Bitcoin ecology and ordinary stuff. You must try. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm Jeff. I'm just happy to be here with 3 other Chinese builders as a coincidence. And we are from the Recursives. So yeah, you can see from our name, Recursives. It's a universe with recursive inscriptions. And we have lots of stuff. We have a bitmap explorer. If you have any bitmaps, come join play. I think we are the hottest project for bitmaps. And also we have a recursive BBS as a forum, on-chain forum. And we are going to launch our AI trading bot for Ordinals this weekend. So I'm happy to talk about all the assets and protocols with you guys. Thank you, Erin.
Awesome, great. Thank you guys for introducing yourself. So we've got a lot of different things that we can talk about in this panel. Let's start with the first line there, BRCs, ORCs, SRCs, however many other RCs that exist out there. Could someone just give me an explanation? What is the difference between BRC, ORC, SRC? What makes these things, different from each other?
Yeah, I know Domo is coming up to talk very extensively about BRC-20, so I will only talk shit about BRC-20. And so, yeah, when Domo introduced this idea of using JSON code to deploy token tickers and mint them with another instruction and then transfer them with a third instruction, that essentially created an accounting system on top of the Bitcoin system, right? And Domo decided to use the instructions as sort of this database where you just input data into the instructions, and the indexers need to read those data and calculate the balances of each wallet. And that is the first BRC-20 experiment. But he did put a lot of arbitrary limitations on it, namely the 4-letter tickers, right? You can only deploy 4-letter tickers, and each 4-letter ticker can only be deployed once. That means this is a very linear protocol. So when all the 4-letter tickers has been deployed, that means this protocol has at its end of the life cycle. And that means projects cannot come in and just use BRC20 whenever they want. An example would be like USDT token, right? Has been early deployed on BRC20 with a free mint policy. That means Tether will never use BRC20 for their stablecoin because they just can't. Their ticker is taken with a different rule set that they want. But with ORC20, it came out like late April. They introduced a token ID system where it allows you to deploy the same ticker multiple times. You just need to tell your community which token ID is yours, similar to the ERC20 smart contract, right? You just tell your community which smart contract I deployed it, and on ORC20, you tell your community ID 5 is my token, and ID 69 is his token, right? So you can just use a token ID to deploy whatever ticker you want. And also they removed the 4-letter limit. You can do 1 to infinite, whatever you like. So that opens up the protocol to at least 2 more dimensions of possibilities. That means any projects at any time can come in and use this protocol to deploy a token on Bitcoin for whatever they want to do. And also ORC20 introduced this upgrade operation where you can upgrade your specs if you are not satisfied with your first deploy. Let's say the USDT token, right? If the deployer decided to upgrade that to something that Tether could actually use, then it can potentially be adopted on BRC20 as well. So I really like what the ORC20 protocol has bring. And so I decided to join that community and give them a lot of ideas in how to improve that protocol. And mostly it's improving the transfer logics. So the transfer logics for BRC20 is quite simple. When you create a balance, by minting it, you use an instruction called mint instruction, and that creates a balance on your wallet address. And when you send that, you need to inscribe another transfer instruction and send that to the receiving wallet to transfer your balance. But all of those instructions are one-time use. That means if you use that instruction only once, after that they become waste, like a receipt or just a wasted check. And that created a lot of waste on the Ordinals indexers and the system. I think that's why the criticism from like the Ordinals team and some other developers. But there's ways to actually change that. So I give ORC20 the idea of turning those mint instructions into actually cash bills. So when you, let's say the Audi token, right? There's 21 million in total, and there's a limit of 1,000, so that requires 21,000 instructions to be minted out. That means it needs to create 21,000 mint instructions. And in BRC20, those become waste immediately after that. But in ORC20, with my proposal and also ORC-Cash, those immediately become cash bills with a serial number. So they are a collection of valid cash bills of the Audi token. You can send them to anyone. It will always be worth 1,000 if you minted 1,000. And you will ask, well, then how do you actually split it, right? You split it by sending the valid cash bills to a designated black hole wallet, which is a burn wallet that we choose called the One Bitcoin Ether Don't Send. It's a really famous wallet address I found on Bitcoin Talks like early in 2013. So when you send your valid cash to this burn wallet, you're essentially sending them to a virtual ATM. And this virtual ATM will treat your cash as a deposit and give your wallet address a balance as credit. And then you can use this credit to inscribe additional instructions, whether you want to send them, you can inscribe a send instruction, or you want to airdrop them to multiple wallet addresses, you can inscribe an airdrop instruction to send to multiple wallet addresses, like 1,000 wallet addresses, and they will also receive the credit. Or you can inscribe like sell operations and all kinds of other operations that ORC-Cash has allowed. So kind of like a general evolution of the functionalities of protocols.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for that explanation. I think it's helpful to kind of, suss out what the technical difficulties or differences here. I want to also just sort of ask more broadly. Obviously, I got a chance to talk to Domo a little bit yesterday, and I think, when he initially put out the BRC20 spec, he wasn't necessarily expecting the kind of, response and uptake of the protocol that it got. Why do you think it is that BRC20 popped off? Is it just the degens were hungry for something to degen on, or what was it about BRC20 that has really caused this whole thing to take off?
Yeah, I think the fair launching. So like when you're buying tokens from Ethereum, like you don't know like the backdoors from the smart contracts. You have to do like the due diligence on that. Like retail people cannot do that. But with BRC20, it's like open source. It's easy. Just remember like the name SATS, ORDI. It's very easy to remember, and it's fair launching. So everybody is paying the same thing. It's for the gas fee, for the inscription fee. So I think that's what happened in the early April or May. That's why people love it.
So actually, I want to say it's very difficult to build a successful standard that is massively adopted by the market, by the users. We often say product market fit, but actually I think it's same with standard protocol. We can call standard market fit. So maybe some of you guys may know that AMM is brought to use case by Banker team in 2018, but it's got popular in the DeFi summer of 2020 because of Uniswap version 2, and the DeFi logo or your farm thing make it happen. I think Ordinals and BRC20 are very similar. So why BRC20 gets suddenly popular in May this year? I think part of the reason is because it made the meme season, right? So all the meme tokens, the PAPs, the RB Dodge, their price pumps up, and the BRC20 tokens are quite similar to them, both community-driven and first main take-off, and all this stuff. So the BRC20 tokens just follow the trends and get spread across all the communities, and then they get hot. So right now, I think the market is getting down, and maybe in the future we have another bold storytelling. So let's see in the future, yeah.
Yeah, I think looking at the broader perspective, right? Sony give the audience kind of the lecture, right? I wouldn't repeat the differences. And for us as a council, we try to accelerate the Bitcoin ecosystem because at the end of the day, we're looking at the Web3 space. We have two ecosystems. We're definitely here to stay. One is Ethereum, right, with all the layer 2, ZK, all the things happening. I've been personally involved in the Ethereum ecosystem in the last 7 years. There was a lot of hacks, a lot of situation, the problems with smart contracts, right? The backdoors, the security hacks, and all that kind of things. Jeff mentioned about all the security auditing couldn't really solve the security problem because that timestamp about security auditing couldn't represent the future of the projects. And there's a lot of issues like multi-chain, a bunch of things happened. I personally was involved with Polygon on all these security hacks, and I was kind of involved and witnessing that. Whereas Bitcoin, so what's happening at the beginning of this year, right? We see the downtrend of NFT on Ethereum. We see a lot of problems with DeFi protocols, right? We see the liquidity went down, the TVL went down. It was kind of lack of momentum, lack of innovation in the space, right? Whereas Bitcoin, we're sitting as the biggest, asset class in Web3 space with barely any other utility, right? I think this movement of bringing utility back to Bitcoin and with DeFi or all kinds of things like Bitcoin NFT, although we call this Bitcoin Ordinals, right, is very exciting. It's interesting. And even Vitalik also mentioned, right, the builder culture is kind of come back, right, with Ordinals movement. So all these very exciting. So BRC20 is not necessarily the same as ERC20, technically speaking. I think Domo can mention that later with his talk. But this name and this branding definitely gives us this consensus among the community, right? And that's very important consensus that, there's interesting things happening in Bitcoin, not just the Bitcoin itself, right? You can actually inscribe things on Bitcoin, on the Bitcoin native layer 1, not using the IPFS, that kind of things, which we talked about in previous panel. So all these are very important. But of course, this new standard, ORC-20, SRC-20, even other UTXO chain like Dogecoin with DRC-20, a lot of new incremental innovation evolve along the ways. I think for me, from the console, from the ecosystem builder perspective, we're not a protocol builder, but we are trying to accelerate this whole ecosystem as a whole. So we don't necessarily want to argue which one is better than the others. I feel that's personally a bit silly to really kind of compare the pros and cons. It's a perpetual topic. and to perpetuate debate. And one thing Domo mentioned, I fully agree. Those standards need, as long as it's interoperable, even backwards compatible, that would be interesting to move the ecosystem as a whole, not necessarily say if one protocol come, the others have to die, have to, when zombie mode or whatever we call this. So I think that's kind of the trend of all the standards evolve.
Nice, great, yeah, thanks for all of your feedback on that. I kind of want to bring it back, actually. The first panel of the day was titled something like Ordinals, is it good for Bitcoin or is it a fatal distraction? And they kind of had it out about Ordinals in general, but what about these standards, these token standards, BRCs, ORCs, SRCs? Are these good for Bitcoin? Are they sort of neutral for Bitcoin and kind of just happening on Bitcoin? Or, are there some negatives due to these standards? What do you guys think?
I will take first on this. I like this question. Thanks a lot. First of all, I think building any ecosystem, one very important metric is the attractiveness, level of attractiveness on the builders, the number, the quantity, the quality of builders on the ecosystem. That's one of the single most important metrics when building any ecosystem in the Web3 space. I personally have been building on Polkadot, active building on Polygon, all that. I think that was the one most important metric I've been following. Without the good builders, smart builders building on their ecosystem, you're nobody, right? Whatever price speculation or whatever liquidity you drive, it doesn't really can stay longer because the royalty on the customer wouldn't be that long. You need to have a very big wave of smart builders building on your ecosystem. But why, right? So I think whatever we say, oh, this is kind of waste data on Bitcoin layer 1, all that, those are little trivial things we can worry about later, and we can have some other solution to fix it. At the end of the day, it's about how to drive adoption and bring and attract the builders to the ecosystem, right? And long story short, it's like bring utility back on Bitcoin. Is this sexy enough for the Web3 space? I'm building interesting adoptions on the most decentralized, the biggest chain in the world. I think that's very important as a movement.
Yeah, I think for BRC20, the thing is, I think 2 days ago, there's 380,000 inscriptions per day, and 99.1% of them is BRC20. So that's the day when people celebrate about 30 million. But people, I posted before that these people are celebrating 30 million inscriptions, but they are not saying, okay, how much of the percentage is for BRC20. So I think it's very controversial topic. I actually want to hear about your opinion on BRC20, Erin, because yesterday when me and Sonic was talking to Casey, and Casey was expressing his ideas about BRC20, and Domo came and they first met. I was about to cry because that was a historical moment for me. So yeah, I think BRC20 is good because when people know they can make money buying tokens on Bitcoin, buying meme token on Bitcoin, so it's a good thing. But yeah, we do face the situation that too many inscriptions are BRC20 and they're creating too many UTXOs. So I wonder what Domo would say. So.
Right. I think if you want to actually think about the impact, Domo is partly to be blamed, but it's not his own fault because, there's a crazy token called SATS token that has been deployed by a guy with a crazy idea that you need 21 million instructions to mint it out. That's not on Domo, right? It's on the guy that deployed the SATS token. But people love that. People love the idea of minting your own coins, right? The feeling of creating, just printing money by yourself using any inscription tools, I think that's really powerful. I like that idea. That's actually, I've been criticizing the efficiency of BRC20, but I do really respect the addictiveness and the excitement of just minting your own tokens. I think the fair launch and the free mint mechanism that Domo designed, especially with the limit, is really genius. I love that implementation, and I think Ethereum is even copying that, right, with their inscriptions and ERCs. So that idea I think is really important on Bitcoin, but I do think that idea can only bring us so far, right? You can have 100 meme coins, that's really good. I don't think there will be 10,000 meme coins, that's really good. We don't need 10,000 consensus-based, purely community-based meme coins. But we do need real developers and with real utility and assets maybe even like securities to be issued on Bitcoin. If you like have real world assets, which is like a new concept that people talk about, and it's a follow-up of STOs, that you should be able to issue them on Bitcoin on the most secure chain that existed. If you have like real estate, you have stocks, you have bonds, and you can issue them on Bitcoin. And that's what I'm building with ORC-Cash Protocol. It's something that enables token issuance, not just free mints and fair launches. It's going to enable projects to actually use this token to do fundraising. So either through ICOs or STOs or just any kind of offering. So I think the impact of token protocols will be really significant for Bitcoin and Ordinals ecosystem.
Yeah, thanks for all of you giving your thoughts. I mean, just to throw my hat in the ring since you asked, I think it seems that there's it's people using Bitcoin at the end of the day, and I think it seems that people want to mint these tokens, and to me, I think the most that you can do is like harm reduction, right? Like you can have a protocol that doesn't hurt Bitcoin or doesn't cause UTXO bloat, these kind of things. I think it's important to optimize for this stuff. And I also think it's good for people to know what they're doing and what they're getting into, and to not oversell something that you can't really deliver on. But that being said, degens are going to degen. It is what it is. We have 3 minutes left here. I just want to kind of throw it back to you guys. Where do you see the future of these things going? Is this something that will burn itself out? Is maybe Ordinals is something that will burn itself out? Who knows? Is there a big future for Ordinals, all these token standards, and all these things being built on Ordinals? Or, where do you see things going?
I think the next bull run storytelling may be Bitcoin ecology. So for Ethereum, I think the TPS is not an issue anymore. We talk about TPS in 2017, but right now we have all the L2 chains, the ZK rollup. So for Ethereum, I think the next big breakthrough would be the killer DApp and native DApp on chain. So for Bitcoin, as we all know, the consensus for Bitcoin is POW. So the computation power guaranteeing the safety of Bitcoin network. But as the Bitcoin is the top one market cap of all cryptos, the large value of Bitcoin is not used to secure all the L2 chains. So we believe there is a potential market for Bitcoin staking used to secure the L2 chains or the other chains like Cosmos. So right now, OKX is cooperating with some partners like Babylon to providing a service to the Bitcoin users, Bitcoin holders, and also the L2 chains. So I think for Bitcoin staking in the Web3 world, gonna be a next big step for the liquidity staking market. Yeah.
I think my 2 satoshis on the future of Ordinals will be, of course, Bitcoin layer 2, right? Had a good conversation with Stacks founders last week in Korea as well. Stacks Nakamoto is coming, and a few other ZK kind of dev team is kind of exploring, building a middle layer as a prover layer for Bitcoin, and bring kind of zero knowledge proof on Ordinals as well. There's a lot of scaling solution needs to be built. Of course, people can argue, doesn't this have been built in the last couple of years in Ethereum? Why do we want to repeat, right? It's different, right? Because the base layer is different, as what Ocean just mentioned. It's different consensus, different architect, just built differently. Without this, we don't really see the mass adoption, right? And it's become like cliche. Everybody talking about mass adoption. Ethereum haven't really achieved that yet. So Bitcoin have a long way to go. We are super early in the space on that. There's a lot of the negative part of Ethereum, right, on this backdoor situation, all that doesn't really happen in Ordinals, in Bitcoin, right? So I think we have to be patient to see these scaling solutions gradually evolve, right? We don't necessarily even have pure decentralized DeFi protocols on Ordinals yet, right? Things like this needs to happen. Yeah.
Great. Okay. We're just about at time here. I don't know if you want to add something quickly or.
Yeah, I'm very quick. I'm super bullish on Ordinals just because I think this is most active, friendly community that I've ever seen. Like I spent like 8 hours on Space on Saturday, and like right now at the bear market, people are still like talking about things on Twitter, on this in Discord, and the community is so friendly. Like Chinese builders, American builders, European builders, they have space together. I translate for them, so I think that's just a good sign for me to see like all these people, they are trying so hard to build more. So that's why I'm so bullish on Ordinals.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks, you guys. And thanks for Ordinal Summit for having us. We'll wrap it there. Thanks.